Attention, your paradigm is about to shift at the intersection of fact and reason. You're entering Kingston Country.
I'm Dan Kingston, and you're listening to the Dan Kingston Podcast. Today's revelation: John Bolton, President Trump's former national security advisor, knows about many relevant meetings and conversations connected to Ukraine. That's what his lawyers told lawmakers today. On Friday, he was a no-show before Congress yesterday, but apparently, at least according to the Washington Post and other news outlets, Bolton apparently is willing to defy the White House and testify if a court clears the way. I know you're saying, liberal propaganda, media bias, and that kind of thing. But let me explain to you about Bolton, because this is actually spot on. Bolton is going to defy the White House orders. He's just being cute about it. He doesn't want you to get all upset at him. He doesn't want to throw gasoline fire on the MAGA crowd that supports Trump. He's not suicidal. He's not an idiot. So he's doing this the smart way. And from the very beginning, Bolton has represented the connection to the deep state, the military-industrial complex. He is their henchman. If you've been listening to anything I've been saying and following me on Twitter and seeing my tweets and hearing this message, I've been saying, watch out for Bolton. He's a neo-libcon. He's the original neocon, the king of the neocons. Queen is Hillary Clinton, of course. They deserve each other. Wouldn't that be a sick, disgusting couple? If you can. Sorry to put that in your head. But so Bolton is this deep state henchman. And why did Trump bring him on as national security advisor? Well, to pacify the deep state, because they've been after him since the beginning. You know this. The whole coup really was started the day he won. And Trump's made a series of appointments, and Bolton has been one of those, that has been meant to throw a bone to this deep state shadow government that's basically owned by the military-industrial complex, like we've been talking about, and hoping, keep your enemies closer than your friends, right? Keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. That's what Trump was doing with Bolton, keeping his eye on the deep state, the military-industrial complex, letting them think that they had a seat at the table, right? Of course, they don't. Trump is a end the endless wars president, just like he ran on. He's made that very apparent recently with the news in Syria and also Iran. He is not going to get us into war with Iran or commit more troops into Syria, thank God. And Bolton wasn't having that. Very upset, and he is vindictive. He's a vindictive snake, is this Bolton character. He couldn't convince Trump into the warmongering, axis of evil, neolibcon globalist strategy to essentially take over the world and make it into some kind of United Nations controlled super government. And John Bolton is the neocon, the Republican version of that. There's also a Democrat neo-lib version of that, which is also centered around this one world government and also very militaristic. The shadow government was under control, but when Trump fired Bolton, as I had laid out would happen, that when Bolton was fired, there would be hell to pay. I said this, I've tweeted this, and this is what's happening. Because days after Bolton is fired, then you have this whole Ukraine scandal. You have the transcripts are released. Everything starts happening the day after Bolton's fired. You got to take a close look now at Bolton. I've been predicting this. I've been saying this. Other people have said that he's the whistleblower. I have not claimed that he was the whistleblower, but I think that he has been working with the whistleblower, and I think he's been working with the Rhinos, and he's working with the Democrats, John Bolton I'm talking about, to bring this impeachment case forward, to make it compelling, and to make it appear bipartisan. Now, the way he's going to do this is through the courts. That's why he's only willing to defy the White House and testify if a court clears the way. You can say, I had no choice. I had no choice. I had to. And when he sits there in front of the Democrats, in front of the Congress, and he betrays the President of the United States, he's going to do it in such a cute, coy way. He's going to have his little Bolton mustache smile. He's going to look so dignified, and you're going to have CNN, you're going to have the Democrats. Everybody's going to say, oh, Bolton is such a hero, a courageous hero. Heroic Bolton standing up to President Trump. Finally. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be sick. You're going to have a Bolton hashtag trending. He is going to betray this president. He was an enemy of the president from the beginning. He was brought on to pacify that wing of the Rhinos, the neolibcon wing of the deep state shadow government. And now that he's gone, there's hell to pay, just as I predicted. It's painful to be this accurate, to be this right about what's happening in the news and politics, and to see it days in advance. Whether it's the Syria situation that I laid out with the Kurds will be okay, or this Bolton backstabber betrayer of the President of the United States that everybody is now seeming to be surprised. Oh, Bolton? No, he won't betray the president. What do you think this whole impeachment is connected to? Remember, the Ukraine phone call was months ago. Why did this all come to the spotlight and forefront the day after Bolton's fired? Why is no one else putting this together? Who's protecting Bolton? Somebody has been instructed to protect him. And I am not beholden to that. I am not beholden to anybody. And I'm especially not beholden to a neolibcon warmonger who's responsible for getting us into these endless wars and basically manufacturing and being the architect of this horrendous, idiotic axis of evil. First it created Al-Qaeda. Then it created ISIS. And we're just talking about the terrorists now. Let's not talk about the bad actors on the state level. Okay, I want to change gears for a second. I want to talk about how on the news every day, it's seditious, the hatred that's being stirred up against President Trump. And whether or not you agree 100% with everything Trump says, you can agree there should be some basic level of respect. Every single piece of news is through the lens of Trump bad, Trump did this, Trump horrible, as if there's nothing else in the world going on. As if the Uyghur crisis in Xinjiang, China, isn't horrible with millions in prison, millions and the whole entire culture being destroyed, Holocaust 2.0. It could actually dwarf the Holocaust because of the numbers that we're dealing with. We're talking about China, billions of people, and you have millions and millions, this ethnic minority, the Uyghur people. We're going to bring on Balbar Ilchi, I'm hoping. He's a Uyghur activist that's just going to talk about the situation. His uncle actually died in one of these concentration camps in China. You're saying, why do we care what's happening in China? I'm saying, well, you probably don't, because all the time you're hearing just nonstop Trump stuff, so you have no idea. You're like, what's this? Concentration camps in China? I never heard about this. What the hell is going on over there? Well, I'm telling you right now. Maybe there's other things that we should be focusing on, whether they directly impact you or not. There are other issues in the world besides Trump. I want you to imagine for a moment if this was how the news treated Obama. If every second there was Obama's horrible, Obama's the worst president, Obama made a horrible foreign policy disaster, this is a giant mistake. Because, the truth is that they could have been a lot more critical of Obama. He got a free pass. We all know this. I'm not one of these, I hate Obama, Obama's the worst president. I'm not one of those type of conservatives. I'm actually one of the conservatives who thought Obama did a okay job, considering, you have to understand, the deep state was after him too. They were trying to make him look bad to you, just as the deep state's trying to make Trump look bad. Because it's not a Republican-Democrat thing. I know. That's what sells commercial space and commercial slots, okay? That's not the reality of the situation. That's an oversimplification. That's what gets you to tune in and easily understand in sound bite chunks what's happening in the world. But that's not the reality. I'm here telling you what's really going on without a right-left slant, just facts on the ground, my analysis, right in the middle. I'm saying we need to respect our president of the United States. Why? Because this is seditious. If something happens, God forbid, to the president of the United States, CNN is just going to turn it on its head. Do you think CNN is going to say, oops, maybe we attacked him a little bit too rough? Do you think MSNBC is going to say, oh, maybe we have a responsibility in this? Of course not. They're going to twist it around. They're going to do their propaganda and say, no, he had it coming. The president of the United States of America had it coming, and we were just reporting the news. Just reporting the news. We have nothing to do with anything that may have happened because we're just here to report it. Yeah, just here to report it. But we all know that if this type of evil hatred, vindictiveness was in the reporting of Obama's presidency and something, God forbid, had happened to Obama. So the thing you have to understand, it's all a bunch of hypocrites. And the hypocrites are on the right and the left. The hypocrites are all around you. And if you're not careful, you'll become a hypocrite yourself. You cannot follow the groupthink ideology, whether it's the rigid socialist groupthink ideology on the left of identity politics and everybody's perfect. There's going to be blood on their hands, God forbid, if anything happens to this president. And they need to keep him safe, because if that happens, there's going to be unprecedented, I think, level of, I hate to say it, but violence. And so they need to do everything they can to protect this president. I think the mainstream media has a responsibility to tone down the rhetoric and to remind people that Trump, while imperfect, is president. Many people voted for him. He won the election. Whether you agree with that or not, he is your president. And the people that voted and cast their ballot, their vote deserves to be respected. This isn't the land of losers. This is the land of winners. And we play fairly. When there's a winner, it's fair and square. You shake their hands. That's a good sport. We don't want to become one of these banana republics. I mean, we're on our way there. And all of a sudden, you don't get your way and you're going to take up arms. You're going to be a traitor. You're going to take violence into your own hands. That kind of thing is un-American. Whether it happens on the right or the left, we're in danger of that kind of situation because of the hateful rhetoric that they're saying. They're lying to you and saying it's only coming from one man. That president of the United States is the only hateful person in this country. In fact, he's the only evil person in the world. All the dictators, they're nothing compared to Trump. He's the boogeyman. He's the evil. They want to make him represent the boogeyman, the villain. It sells tickets. It sells commercial time. It sells news. But ultimately, it doesn't sell the truth. Amari J from California, welcome to the Dan Kingston podcast.
How you doing today, sir?
Great. Amari J, you're an American R&B artist, singer, songwriter, rapper. I don't know many rappers. You're one of the few I do. You're on the short list. It says here in 2018, Amari J, that you were recognized by R&B Magazine as one of the most talented independent R&B artists on the rise. So it's a pleasure to have you here on the podcast. And I immediately thought of you. You came to mind when I saw this video from rapper YG. I don't know if you saw this video, if you're listening, or I know you saw it, Amari J, because I wanted to have you on. And YG boots this fan off the stage because, first, let me back up a little bit in case you didn't see it and you're listening out there. First, YG invited a person on stage who looked like he may have been a Trump supporter. And YG asked him to say, fuck Trump. And when this person refused to say fuck Trump, YG kind of booted him off stage. It was a push. I don't know if it wasn't like a violent push, but it was a good shove. And it came to mind, Amari J, one of the few rappers I actually know, and I was like, what would Amari J do in a situation like that? And I had to ask. You agreed to be on the podcast. I appreciate it. So Amari J, what went through your mind when you saw that video?
Well, to be honest with you, Dan, what went through my mind when I saw that video was, a young individual being brought on the stage by YG, the rapper. And, YG did not like the fact that the young man, the young boy, was not going to, say F Donald Trump.
Right.
So, him kicking him off the stage, being the fact that this is his concert and his show, and YG has, already been a very activist against Donald Trump in the community for a long time.
He's
being
known
the fact
for that. He's known for that.
Right. Being the fact he made the F Donald Trump song with the late rapper Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace. But that's just a community thing that a lot of people know about. So if you're going to a YG concert, you should know.
He should have known. He should have known that. But the guy wasn't wearing. He was a white guy, but he wasn't wearing like a Trump MAGA hat. So I wonder how YG really knew about it. I guess. Amari J, if it was you, would you have reacted that way?
Well, Dan, in my opinion, to be honest with you, I feel like it was, probably the right thing in YG's mind to do, and he felt like he should do that. This is a country of freedom of speech and everything like that. He didn't want to say the things that YG wanted him to say, so he kicked him out of the concert and out of the show. Personally, I don't feel that for what the reasoning behind it was. I feel like it was a strong reasoning behind why YG kicked him off the stage. But also, you have to understand this is the hip hop community and this is the hip hop world. If they bring you on any stage and you do anything that, is disrespectful or that they may not like, you will be getting booted off.
But why should he have to say fuck Trump? And then why would he push him when we could have had more of an opportunity for, hey, it's okay if we disagree. I'm glad you're here at the concert, Well,
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Is it YG that is bringing this appetite into the community, or is it people like Donald Trump and white supremacists that are bringing this appetite into the community and making people like YG feel this way? And
I think it's the mainstream media. I think it's like CNN. They're constantly saying, racism everywhere. Everything is Donald Trump is a villain. Everything is a monster, right and left. He's imperfect. He's imperfect, true, but is everybody a racist because they support him? Is this gentleman who, seemed to be somewhat respectful? He was respectful.
Let's not forget there's many white nationalists and many white supremacists who do support Donald Trump. So a lot of people tend to think that whoever's on board with Donald Trump is with that same bandwagon. But
Amari J, aren't there racists on the left, like on the Democrats? The racists are on both sides, right?
There are. You're definitely right about that. There are. There's a lot of Democrats that's been lying to the black community for years.
Right. Amen. Well, that's what I want. So that's a good segue into, do you think there's an opening for conservatives to attract more African Americans?
What I want to say is this. You do not own us, Democratic Party. You do not own black people. That's what I have a problem with. The Democratic Party seems to think that they own us. I think a lot of black people need to be more independent in this nation. Yes. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm independent, and I do not support Donald Trump.
So I had no idea about your politics going into this interview. I just want to say that to anybody listening. Amari J and I, we've talked, but not about politics before. But I respect Amari J's opinion. I think he's a really smart guy, great music. And so I thought we could have a real conversation, really interesting conversation. And I think that's what we're having right now. And I appreciate that. So I want to ask, if you had to narrow down to a few issues affecting African-American communities, maybe excessive police force, inner city violence and that kind of thing. Do you think there's an opening for new ideas to solving problems that are hurting the African-American community? Maybe conservative ideas.
It's a lot of problems that are involving with the community. What's going on right now is you won't believe how many times I've been pulled over for nothing. The police just seem to want to, pull over, and white people seem to want to call the police on black people for any damn thing. And, I got to ask you, since you sympathize with those type of people, what is up with white people that just want to call the police on black people for any damn thing?
Well, I think that there's excessive police force against every community in this country. I think black people are especially targeted, but also people that have disabilities, people that have mental problems get targeted by police. Police do not have sufficient training. I think they resort first to violence, and they don't know how to deal with the situations that maybe fall out of their specific, training apparatus and this kind of thing. We need to work. But I'm saying, if there is a solution to this, is the solution only on the left? Can we find a compromise, a pragmatic solution to some of these problems, including the police violence, which affects, there is excessive police force in this country.
Dan.
Yes.
If there were white police officers shooting up little white boys and going into white neighborhoods and targeting white people, you all would go to war.
The kid was just killed in Stockton. He was a white boy, but he was mentally slow, and the officer shot and killed him. So, I mean, I think that it's also a race issue, but isn't it also, is everything about race, or are the police out of control in some instances?
I will say this, Dan. There are some great officers out there who I honestly think are doing a great job, and they are being the police officers that they should be. And I've ran into a lot of them. I'm not a police hater. I do like the police. There's a lot of police that are great people. Now, let me say this. As there's two sides to every story, the chickens are coming to roast. And that's simply what's going on right now. What's happening right now is all the white nationalists, all the white supremacists who are really in the police force are now coming to light. All of this is now coming to light. And there's a whole dark side of the police force that isn't really talked about, that's targeting the black community.
Well, that's what we're talking about, right? And we're giving you an opportunity to talk about this because it's important to talk about it. And if we look at every single country, the police are out of control. I mean, there's something about police forces in general. Like in Mexico, you have to bribe them or else they'll kidnap you and they'll kill you. There's something about you give somebody a gun. Ultimate power corrupts ultimately, right? So how do we focus on the good police officers and weed out the bad ones?
And let me say this. A lot of these police officers are not the highest of education. Let's not forget that. It doesn't take that much education to be a cop, sir. And that's why there's a lot of things going on. You could be anybody with almost any type of background except for a criminal. So what I think that should happen right now is we need to do more background checks on these police officers. We need to maybe do more educational research with these police officers, because these are not educated white people doing this. These are people from the backwoods of Mississippi doing this.
Yeah, well, I think that we definitely need to find solutions, because it's unacceptable what's happening in the inner cities. The Democrats, in many respects, have let down the African American community, and the Republicans have made no effort to offer alternative, creative solutions to some of these problems.
What I really want you to understand is this, and I want a lot of people in America to understand what's going on, and I'm speaking to the people in America. The Honorable Minister Malcolm X said, "Only a fool fights in a burning house." America is on fire, Dan.
Really appreciate your input on this. Amari J, American R&B artist, singer-songwriter, and rapper, and R&B Magazine, of course, described him as one of the most talented independent R&B artists on the rise. So check out his music. Where can people find your music, Amari J?
Apple Music, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube. Type me in on Google, Amari J.
And let me ask you, because my audience, obviously, it's an independent audience. There are Trump supporters in the audience that might like rap and R&B music. Are they invited to listen to your music, Amari J, or would you rather they not?
You know what? That's a good question, Dan. I'm for anybody that wants to support my music. I'm for anybody that wants to, listen to my music, no matter what background you're coming from. But my thing is this, right is right and wrong is wrong.
Amari J, thank you for your wise words and for being on the podcast today.
No problem, sir. Thank you, Dan.
Okay, I want to wrap up because I've been thinking about the era of Ivy League elite control over our government. That era is coming to an end. No longer are we going to have these Harvard, Yale elites at every form of industry and government. It's changing because we're learning now that these trust fund Harvard types bought their way in. And we already knew that, right? But even the celebrities in LA, the know-nothings, the idiots, it's the elites, it's the neolibcon warmonger globalists versus the rest of us. And what's happening is we're winning. That's what's happening. That's what Trump represents. They're losing, we're winning. They're super upset about it. They're angry, and they're not going to stop. But that's a sign and reflection of the fact that we have the upper hand. And this is not just a paradigm of the far right. As much as you hate AOC and the squad, they also represent a form of populism. AOC is a bartender, right? She didn't come from an elite Harvard education. And while she certainly has a politics very dangerous, and I would argue way more dangerous than Bernie Sanders, because I think she could actually convince America into socialism. And, look at what Steve Bannon says about AOC. It's very interesting because he's pointing out we need more people like her on the right. She's a bartender, a woman, you could say, of the people, of her people. Well, this is what we need to pursue at all levels of government and at all levels of industry, too. No longer do we need to have, these snooty, condescending types telling us what's best. We're too stupid to figure out what's best for ourselves. And just because, you don't have command of a gigantic vocabulary and you don't impress people with your theory, political theory, you don't know all the the history that's going back to, the European wars and in ancient Rome and this kind of thing. And so because of that, you are not allowed to have an opinion. You're not allowed to offer your voice. In fact, you shouldn't even be allowed to vote because you're too stupid. Well, those days are coming to an end. The days when it's actually okay to laugh at that idea. Oh, yeah, the stupid people, they shouldn't be allowed to vote. Well, just because you think about it differently, because you're a pragmatist, because you're looking for solutions, because you're not bogged down by ideology, that makes you actually somebody very vital to this republic. Because the elites, they've gotten us where we are today. And unfortunately, it's taking us down into the gutter. $23 trillion debt and endless wars. And you look at the immigration situation, it's completely getting taken over by illegal immigration. And, talking about illegal immigration, but look at legal immigration. The H-1B visa fraud is frightening, at least in California. It's absolutely destroying the American middle class in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I would imagine in other tech centers across the country. And so then when you factor in illegal immigration from south of the border and the H-1B, and you're looking at all these issues with endless wars and unaffordable housing and medical care, and you're saying, my God, they really did fuck it up for us. They sure did. They sure did. And we need to change pragmatist thinking, no more ideological groupthink, no more elitist control, no more globalist corporate control of our policy. We need to go back to what made us strong in the first place, and that's the people, the wisdom of the people. We are a constitutional republic. Let's go back to that.
Kingston Country. You've been listening to the Dan Kingston Podcast.